Hello YouTube, welcome to a new episode of Synth News, the format we summarize all the hardware, software and iOS synthesizer news of the week. It was a week with a lot of new synths, which you know from the past, but in a new format, so let's start our recap of the week. I'm starting Monday with a very small developer of analog synthesizers. The company Sysmo Instruments from South America has introduced a very interesting AMCONIX analog synthesizer. Unlike the big companies, they try to make a different kind of instruments palatable to the customers. The AMCONIX has a symmetrical oscillator with a speed, square and triangle waveform. Then it has a completely new elliptical step sequencer, a drum part, two LFOs, a clock divider as well as a clock output, a mixer for each part, and for each part a CV in and output. On the whole, an interesting and different sounding synthesizer which is still affordable with a price of $180. The AMCONIX is certainly an interesting instrument for experimental musicians, but also for those who like it differently. From the experimental and different minds to the more mainstream of the synthesizer world. On Tuesday, Roland invited us to the future redefined product presentation and introduced the Roland SE02 analog synthesizer in collaboration with the synthesizer specialist of studio electronics. Many hopes for a revolutionary new analog or digital sounding tone generator, but no chance. The Japanese company presents with the SE02 a further development of the Minimoog. Yes, you hear correctly, not only Behringer tries to recreate Minimoogs, but also Roland. Unlike Behringer, Roland doesn't try to clone the entire original Minimoog, but want to transport the device into modernity. In a smaller case than the Behringer D, with audio transmission via USB, 3 different types of cross-modulation, Xmod, an LFO with 9 waveforms, preset memory with storage for up to 384 sounds, a cool performance sequencer and more. The SE02 goes different ways than a classic Minimoog recreation. The first sound examples already say a lot how good this new analog synth from Roland in the boutique format sounds. It will be available at the end of September for a price of $499 or €599. Even if you can now buy another Minimoog-like synthesizer at an affordable price, unfortunately I am missing the next step at companies such as Roland or Korg. I miss very innovative new analog or digital synthesizers that don't try to reproduce an old device but sound completely different. An instrument that comes, for example, with physical modeling or granular synthesis, for example, is currently unlikely to be on the market, and the world of quantum will be launched at the end of the year, which unfortunately will be very expensive again. I would be very happy if the big synth companies tries to develop new concepts and not just look into the past. These have enough clever heads which can certainly do that. Nothing against the SE02, which sounds very good, but unfortunately it lacks for me the innovation in this new release. Under the name Future Redefined, Roland tries to bring new, modern, innovative synthesizers this week to the market. Another candidate with whom I'm not sure whether this is the future or not was presented somewhat more quietly on Wednesday. The D50 synthesizer known from the 80s celebrated its comeback this week in the form of a software plugin. Initially it was also true that the D50 plugin has also a plugout for the System 8. It turned out that it's only a pure plugin for the PC and Mac, available through the Roland Cloud subscription model. The D50 plugin has all the features of the original device and has been developed with the DCB digital circuit behavior technology, the same process as the ACB analog circuit behavior technology from Roland, where analog synths have already successfully emulated at a high level. The D50 is the first synthesizer with this new DCB technology and will most likely not be the last. I can imagine that instruments like the Pad Monster JD800 also comes as plugin. We will see what's going to happen in the future. The D50 is available exclusively through the Roland Cloud, which makes the whole thing a little less good. Also on Wednesday, the Max for Life developer Max for Cats present the Pulsar synthesizer, which tries to bring the feeling of semi-modular synthesizers with analog modeling synthesis into the Ableton world. Pulsar has a great virtual patch bay where you have access to all the functions with cables. In my opinion, a nice designed instrument that is perfect especially for cable lovers. The Great Patch Bay invites you to make experimental and deep sound designs with Pulsar. If you are looking for a modular synth and you are a user of Ableton Live with Max for Live, don't miss Pulsar. Unfortunately, the Thursday was very quiet, so it goes directly further with the Friday. Have you always wanted to buy some sophisticated and different clock generators for your UREC system? If yes, then the new Qubit Electronics Pulsar Galactic clocks for the UREC system can be something for you. Pulsar is a burst generator where a stream of triggers are dispersed across 4 outputs. In this new module, environmental factors like absorb and gravity has a major impact to the behavior of each burst and affects its movements through. In my opinion, the Pulsar is a really cool creative module. If you are bored by classical clock generators, then check out this new module by Qubit Electronics. It's now available for pre-order for a price of $289 from the official web store. Shortly before the weekend, Arturia left the cat out of the sack. There is a major free firmware upgrade for the Beatstep Pro. With this new firmware 2.0, the French company brings a lot of new features that comes from feature requests from artists, improves the workflow and fix some bugs. For example, non-users of the drum boot now get access to this excellent polyrhythmical drum sequencer in their Beatstep Pro for free. Especially this new feature makes the device more powerful and creative than the previous version. In addition to this feature, there is also a new roller arpeggiator function, pattern chaining and better workflow with the Quark Volcas. You can now sync the Beatstep Pro to the Volcas, which is a really cool new feature. There is also something for the lazy and unintentional musicians. The new version also includes a random function that can be used to randomize octaves of your notes. On the whole, a really strong free update for the Arturia Beatstep Pro, which greatly improves the whole controller and offers far more possibilities for the same price. For the synth tip of the week, I travel back in electronic music time and meet my selection for the new compilation 3D catalog from Kraftwerk. It includes 8 CDs and summarizes all the highlights of the last year's tour impressively. The quality of the entire recordings of this compilation are outstanding and reflects very nicely back the importance of Kraftwerk for today's electronic music. Even today, the music of Kraftwerk is still modern and impressed young and old. Because today Kraftwerk is still an important part of modern but also experimental music, I decided this week for these icons of electronic synth music. Big thanks for watching this new episode of Synth News. If you have questions or do you have a news to add, please leave them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please leave a positive thumb and a subscription for more future videos. Big thanks for watching and for your continued support. I hope to see you again in one of my next videos. Bye!